shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
The time has come for lions to tell I own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I is Dejazmatch hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, I'm bringing to you Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari, because Babylon done when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon done when Rasta come together. Hail I, Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress Men in Bless. Yeah man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari, I hear you.
Aye.
Let us start first. The first place when His Majesty came in, I can give you a quick snap of the itinerary.
Please.
A quick snap of the itinerary of His Majesty. A quick snap of the itinerary of His Majesty. His Majesty arrived in Trinidad on the 18th of April. On the 18th of April at 12 noon. At 12 noon, he arrived at the airport. His Majesty leave 12:20 p.m., where first place he visited was the Arima bandstand. After leaving the Arima bandstand, he went to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Aruka, straight to the church, where he met the Ethiopian head, Brother Gabriel. I could give you his name. The brother name was Meshemba Gabriel Jesus Meshua, Meshishua, or something like that. Is the brother name, who was the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who carried on the service. He also met with other dignitaries like Chuba Raya Bus Butler. That name is a very big and large name in Trinidad and Tobago as a freedom fighter. Very, very.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Well, from to us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie I fi end all tribal war. Time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an artist, I'm an author, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk. Welcome to the Lion Voice Network, and welcome to Lion Talk, where we are bringing frontline soldiers on the battlefield for Rastafari and the Pan-African movement to a global audience. Our philosophy here is that the lions and the lionesses must tell our own story. No longer can we depend on third parties to tell our narrative and to define who we are. We have to take ownership and leadership over the narrative so that we preserve this great tradition for generations to come. So with that being said, I want to just say we have a very special guest, and today is a very special day. This episode will be airing April 18th, which commemorates His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I's visit to Trinidad. There's also H.I.M and Queen Earthstrong. So I am not available for the live broadcast as we would usually do on a Thursday night tonight. But I couldn't just leave the day and we don't have nothing. So I made sure we got a very special guest. My Trinidad and Tobago family already from them see the screen, them smiling, because this is a pillar in Trinidad and Tobago Rastafari family. Is one of our great elders who is administrating, bringing that unity, being a bridge, not just for Rastafari, but in the Pan-African community, well known in circles of the Pan-African family, ladies and gentlemen, lion and lionesses, brethren and sistren, help I with a warm welcome, I Lion Pride, for Honorable Bongo Grease, Rastafari blessings, Bongo Grease.
Yes, I give thanks, royal salutation to each and everyone. Welcome to this program, Lion Talk, Rastafari voice, because it is essential at this point in time that Rastafari bring forward their history, to the younger one, to the babes and suckling. So we give thanks to the brethren for this progressive works that, as now the brethren are doing, So glory to word, glory to song, glory to the power of the ever-living I. Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen I. Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separate, said Kadamawi Haile Selassie I, Rastafari, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, said the Most High, Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari, Almighty. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that be not partakers of her sins, and that he receive not her plagues.
Serious.
Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari, yarding out of Babylon. So we give thanks today, Rastafari.
I recognize that as Revelation 18. Right
18:4.
Yes, and very relevant. We're going to talk about repatriation. We cannot have an elder of the eye, qualification, and we don't touch on repatriation. But I want the eye to step into the Lion Talk time machine. I want the eye to take us forward to the eye birth and just tell the people where was the eye born, and give us, a history of the eye journey to Rastafari.
Yes, I, King Rastafari, a journey, I journey. I, Bongo Grease, better known as, Glenroy Halls, Rastafari name, Dr. Ali Mantado, However, my home name is Bongo Grease, Aka Bongo Grease. I was born on the 23rd of July, 1959.
Okay.
Haile Selassie I, Rastafari. So, yeah, so the lion in me from birth, So at the age of 7 coming up, and my parents taking me to the visit of His Majesty in 1966, had already inspired I towards, greater achievements within the consciousness, Black consciousness within myself, And so it is that, I man grew and grew as a youth, always, my mother, anyhow, too, my mother was an indigenous person. My mom was indigenous. So my mom always had a particular love for, one's cultural identity. And all Rasta man in Trinidad know that my mother did love Rasta the most. Really.
What part of Trinidad were you born in?
South Trinidad. I was born in South Trinidad. Okay. And once you're a Rasta man and you come home by me, your meal sure. If my mother is going up the road and my mother see the police brutalizing you, my mother is going to get into that and war the police and go to the station before your parents reach and make sure that everything is okay with you. So, I had that from there, from very young as an individual coming up to me. But one of my goals as a youth, I've always been a librarian from young. I'm like an accountant. When I say an accountant, nothing in terms of cultural works, Rastafari works, I would throw away. I have lost 2 houses over the last 18 years, burnt. And however, although those houses were burnt, all documentation pertaining to Rastafari remain. The whole house burned, but the documentation always remain on 2 or 3 pieces of board without burning.
Aye. So there I have a serious archive there that we need to professionally preserve and keep.
So yeah, certainly. Well, since my house burned down, right now I have thousands of literatures and books in a part of the burnt house that I am now making arrangement with some Nyabinghi brethren to go and clear out those books before the rainy season, because I am now at a place where I can revive the library,
Thanks, give thanks. That's so crucial. I call myself the reading Ras, and I'm very strong about physical books because, we see even the other day they cut the internet to the whole west coast of Africa. So we cannot rely just on these modern internet and to go online. The knowledge, books contain so much knowledge. You can see some of my books here behind I collect books as well. So I love to see your collection one day, and it's so powerful. So your mother was a philanthropist, and she really strengthened the Rastafari. Do you know why she just took that position as a Rastafari defender?
Yeah, well, as I say, my mother grew up from very humble beginning, and she knew, we grew up without any father, and my mother knew the social pains within the community. However, my mother was like a planter, plant food and sell in the market, a very favorite. So like everyone in the community respected my mother because she was a warrior.
Okay, yes.
Was a warrior, so everyone respected her. But again, my mother had a special love for Rastafari, because even as a youth coming through trade schools and these different things, and I had to cut my locks. My mom would say to her, no. Don't bother with that. Don't cut your locks. So I had that strength.
Wow.
From a young.
That's so rare. That's so rare for ones from the I generation.
Yeah.
To have that parental support. In terms of how old were you when you first put on your locks?
Well, I put on my locks at about 16, 17 years.
17 years old. So you were in high school at that time.
And when I put on my locks at 17 years old, I started to celebrate my Bingi home every 23rd of July. And my mother was a very active part of celebrating the Bingi with me, with all the children, all the kids from the community would come. And the majority are young guys who were interested in Rastafari would come home my way, because in those days, my whole apartment was full of Rastafari iterates. So all the young ones would come and see the iterates, come and learn about Rastafari, come and bubble a pot, learn how to cook a youth, you know. And so my mother was totally integrated in our whole 23rd of July celebration in terms of the youths. And this is where I, you know, at a point in time understand that Rastafari could do so many things, because not working at that point in time, I used to go around the community collecting $1 from everybody. Who have ITAL would bring ITAL. And who could put $1 could put $1. And yet still on the Bingi day, I would have food to last for 5 days.
Wow.
That would come in.
Yes, every mickle make a muckle, would I say, you know. So in terms of the overstanding of His Imperial Majesty, you said you went to see him as a youth, but when did that consciousness, okay, we know there's Rasta culture, but then there's also the Emperor, Haile Selassie I, and his divinity, and really, you know, identifying with that. When did that transition happen, or were they simultaneous?
No, well, that happened, the full consciousness came 10 years after the visit.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 years after the visit, which is between, I would say, between 74, 75, 76, because 12 Tribe was formed in 1975. So between 74 to 76, because again, why that consciousness step in is, as a youth coming up, we take into consideration that the 1970s in Trinidad and Tobago was the full power of the Black Power movement, the rise of the Black Power movement. So within the rise...
And when you say, just to clarify, when you say 12 tribes started, you mean 12 tribes in Trinidad?
Generally.
Because I think it was in 60s, late 60s, that 12 tribes started in Jamaica from the history, 1968 or 69, Prophet God.
68. Around 68. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, correction, around 68.
Yeah, this is a hardcore Rastafari audience, Bongo Grease. So I have to make sure, because we have 12 tribes, Bobo, them are going to write me and say, you know, so
yeah. I was 68.
Yes.
I mean, no, what happened is that, I mean, over the years, I had the whole calendar of events with all the formation of all mansions, you know. Yeah. But since my house is burned, everything is now recollection from my head.
Yes.
I'm an elder now.
Yes.
But as I say, within 10 years after the visit of His Majesty, that's 1976, you know, the emergence of Rastafari in Trinidad really pick up into a very big way. Because during the time of His Majesty visit to Trinidad in 1966, there were no established Rastafari foundation.
Okay.
What we did have, however, was a very strong Pan-African, a very strong Pan-African community in terms of activism, like brothers like C.L.R. James, George Padmore, Sylvester William, Claudia Jones, and the likes of
legends in the Pan-African, you know, pantheon. Those are legends.
Then you had the formation of Marcus Garvey UNIA in Trinidad from 1937. You know, so that consciousness was already in the atmosphere. You know, and even, you know, and prior to the visit of His Majesty, that 1935 war with Mussolini triggered a lot of intention, a lot of reasoning in Trinidad among the elders as to what's taking place in Ethiopia. It brought Ethiopia to the light in terms of, you know, the ancient patriots and matriots speaking about, you know, the injustice that was done to Ethiopia out there. So as youths, you know, you begin to become part of the whole, you know, conscious conversation.
Yes. So in terms of the overall Rastafari presence, were there any people with locks at all when His Majesty visited in 66? Were there any visible Rastafari in Trinidad during that?
Yes. Yes, there were visible Rastafari, there were one or two, but as I say, they were not fully established,
Okay.
but there were brethren families who were Rastafari at that point in time. I mean, as a kid, I saw Rastas, but not to the volume, as an established community at that point in time. However, significantly, after the visit of His Majesty, Trinidad became the second largest Rastafari population in the Caribbean.
Okay. So it's an explosion of consciousness.
Yeah, because you see, during the time prior to when His Majesty came, there were strikes. There were strikes, strikes, oil field strikes and all these things because Trinidad is an oil community. And from Turaya Buzz Butler in fighting for the minimum wage that caused the whole Caribbean, go right up the Caribbean, to organize a better standard of wage for workers. All this was in the pipeline. And then from there, the Black Power movement, when the Black Power movement was dissolved after 1970, you had the National Union of Freedom Fighters. So after the National Union of Freedom Fighters, those guerrillas who were fully African conscious became the next rise of Rastafari begin.
Okay.
These were Rastafari, these brethren came in and Rastafari started because the ganja culture and conscious African reasoning became more apparent and more vivid among folks on the block,
Okay.
So here.
So there I know Raseko Tafari.
Yeah, I know Raseko Tafari before he even not up. Seko Tafari was a brethren. I used to buy books, but at the time I buy books, Seko didn't used to sell books yet. I used to buy books from my brother across the bridge called Marvin. However, Seko started the book business, a very brilliant brethren.
Yes.
Seko together with a brother who died. This brother who died, he was a
Shango Bako?
Not Shango. I work with Shango. Shango used to work with General Montul Alibaba in producing the first Rastafari magazine called Rastafari Speaks.
Yes.
However, Seko used to work with Brother Resistance.
Okay.
A brilliant Rastaman too. A brilliant brethren. And so they started to work in the mall, and Seko started the books business. They started with a kind of dupwet, and then they went into more Rastafari books. But I know the brethren were a very powerful, intelligent brother.
Yes. We've had him on this platform, on this very program. So we give thanks. I really want to document the history of Trinidad and the brethren and sisters in Trinidad. We do a lot of Jamaica content here, but I'm letting the family know we're going to do a lot of Trinidad content because, as you say, in the Caribbean, Trinidad probably have the second largest Rastafari community,
Yeah.
So we have to bridge that gap and make that unity because right now, you see what the elder started the episode with, Revelation 18. We're going to come forward to that. So I want to jump into the topic. Tonight is April 18th. We're commemorating His Majesty visit to the Caribbean. This visit would change the course of history in the Caribbean. The most significant visit of a world leader to a region in recorded human history. I'm putting these things out there. The King of Kings coming to the diaspora. In Jamaica, they always told the elders, your God never going to come, you dirty Rasta, you live in a dump and these things. So when people saw that His Majesty actually came to Jamaica, that was a line in the sand that really elevated Rastafari, into Jamaican society where they didn't have to go on the gully bank. They were in the buildings. The first time a Rastafari ever stepped foot in a government building was under direct request of the King of Kings. You know, the highest himself really came and extended that. We know all of that history, most of us. What we don't know is the important role that Trinidad played, Dr. Eric Williams and these things, and there's no better person to really give us this full history and to understand why His Majesty came to the Caribbean, what was happening with the larger Pan-African struggle. So April 18th, talk to us about the significance and Trinidad role, and let us dive into this visit.
Yes, the role that Trinidad played in the visit of His Majesty the Caribbean is very, 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 very significant. We take our first step is that the visit of His Majesty to the Caribbean was initiated by the then Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, who visited Ethiopia visited Africa, and particularly Ethiopia, in the midsummer of 1965. Derek Williams at that time was a Harvard diplomat. He wrote many books like Capitalism and Slavery and all these different things. He was a very, powerful brother. And he initiated the Caribbean visit, which is with His Majesty to the Caribbean. And so one of the things while initiating the visit of His Majesty to the Caribbean, we must take into consideration that Trinidad and Tobago had links with Ethiopia even before His Majesty visited, even before Dr. Eric Williams visited Ethiopia in the midsummer of 1965. Because the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Trinidad and Tobago was in Trinidad and Tobago since 1956. Was here since 1956. So the church was here very early. So all these were, characteristics that had His Majesty very much interesting in terms of the Caribbean visit. However, the visit of His Majesty to Trinidad was very, very significant, very, very significant. As I indicated earlier on, because of the war of Mussolini in 1935, even before His Majesty arrived in Trinidad, all the dons, all the elder people who would gather at Woodford Square would gather and discuss the Mussolini-Ethiopian war, with His Majesty, with Haile Selassie I.
Yes.
So most of our elders were fully aware of the war, what happened in the war, the injustices that happened in the war. So when His Majesty come, it was like, what people was really more amazed with was when His Majesty came out of the car, they were baffled by his stature. This small man, this little piece of man, they were looking for someone really huge and gigantic. But in seeing this little man come out there with this little dog, it sparked a lot of problems even for the police, because the security protocol was very strong. There were railings, and people still wanted to burst the railings to reach His Majesty, because it is first time we have been graced by an African king of such a nature as His Majesty. So it was total chaos with children, with everybody trying to reach His Majesty. The police had a really terrible work on his hand. But again, as I indicated, the elders knew of the whole Ethiopian Mussolini war, and the discussions were very healthy there. And we as youths, pick up on one or two things as pertaining to the whole war, So I can give a total history on the whole, everything that happened from His Majesty route to then, because I, as a collector's item, I still have that paper from 1966 to now.
Well, this is the platform. We want to get deep into it. So the church came. Do you know the history of how the church reached? Who was it? Ethiopians who brought the church there? Was it Trinidadians in Trinidad that requested the church? How did the Orthodox Church, Ethiopian Orthodox, reach in 1956, which is very early?
Yeah, very, very. The church was here very, very early. I do believe that I don't know the connection exactly, but I know the church exists. The church came here from 1956.
And Dr. Eric Williams, why did he invite His Majesty to come to the Caribbean?
Well, you see, now remember, right? In 1961.
Okay.
In 1961, the Jamaicans sent a contingent on a fact-finding mission to Jamaica. I mean, to Ethiopia, to Africa. To Africa.
Yes, several countries.
In some parts of Ethiopia, to look at the possibilities of repatriation.
I am the reading Ras. This is the report that was issued by UII about that mission.
Right. About 1961. Yeah. However, 5 years after His Majesty came here. But again, as I said, what triggered the purpose of the visit was actually initiated by Dr. Eric Williams. Even when that visit was initiated by Dr. Eric Williams, no other country had known the exact date and time of the Caribbean visit until the information was released by the then Prime Minister and other members of his entourage or cabinet to dispel to the other countries that His Majesty would be visiting, or the other Caribbean leaders of the visit.
Okay.
Of the visit.
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is the way it goes, of the visit. So the main purpose of His Majesty visit to the Caribbean was to seek assistance for the organization of African unity.
Okay. So he was reaching out to the exiles.
To the exile, which was formed in 1963.
Okay.
Right? That was the main purpose of his visit. That is why when he arrived in Trinidad, the state visit was for Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. Barbados had no part of it at all, whereas Haiti, no part of it at all. However, because of African leaders in the diaspora, and His Majesty loved the African within the diaspora, due to diplomacy, things will work out where they was going to get a visit. Because he could not have visited Barbados, because at that time Barbados was not an independent country. Barbados was still under the British.
Okay.
So Barbados had a premier barrow.
Yes.
So they could not have got a state visit. However, in pleading with Trinidad and with the whole contingent, they was able, on His Majesty way to Jamaica, to at least get a 2 hours visit. And even during their visit, while having their visit, when His Majesty reached here, he had a very good, strong welcome, because Premier Barrow had been doing a lot of work in the United States, always about His Majesty, Ras Makonnen, and he loved the whole thing. But again, protocols must be observed because of protocol.
When you say Ras Makonnen, you mean Ras Makonnen from Guyana?
No, Haile Selassie I father.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about the actual Ras Makonnen from Ethiopia.
Yeah, right. But Mr. Barrow knew a lot about Haile Selassie I father, and he knew a lot. However, based on protocols, they could not have got a state visit. And even during the 2 hours visit, when the visit took place, you find when His Majesty region, he was taken to King's House, the Ethiopian national anthem was played. Immediately after the Ethiopian national anthem was played, the British anthem was played. So you find such an embarrassment to Mr. Barrow forced the Barbados government to seek immediate independence after the visit of His Majesty for Barbados.
Okay. Serious history. We're going deep, family. So make sure you subscribe to the platform. You know all of the things we say. We're building Rastafari independent media right here on the second largest search engine on the planet. We are confident in the victory as we move into this repatriation Iowa. We are telling our own story. We have our great H.I.M Elder here who was at the visit, and we're talking about the visit of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I to Trinidad. So put your comments in the comment section. I know we usually have the back and forth on the live. We're not live today, but we can still have the reasoning. Put your comments in the comment section, and we try to respond in due season. So let's go forward to Trinidad. I always hear that there was some wind or something that blew away the scaffolding or something happened. Talk about the visit.
Yeah, but as I said, the visit was hundreds of school children, hundreds of school children. As normal, there were the children's rally. His Majesty, in terms of meeting. Let us start first. The first place when His Majesty came in, I can give you a quick snap of the itinerary.
Please.
A quick snap of the itinerary of His Majesty. Quick snap of the itinerary of His Majesty. His Majesty arrived in Trinidad on the 18th of April. On the 18th of April at 12 noon. At 12 noon, he arrived at the airport. His Majesty leave 12:20 p.m. where first place he visited was the Arima bandstand. After leaving the Arima bandstand, he went to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Aruka, straight to the church, where he met the Ethiopian head, Brother Gabriel. I can give you his name. The brother name was Meshemba Gabriel Jesus Meshua or something like that. Is the brother name, who was the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who carried on his service. He also met with other dignitaries like Chuba Raya Buzz Butler. That name is a very big and large name in Trinidad and Tobago as a freedom fighter. Very, very. He's a brethren who originated from Grenada, but came to Trinidad, lived in Trinidad, and fought the struggle for all the workers, tried through the Caribbean. So he was greeted by Churaya Buzz Butler, who offered him a palm branch. Gave him a palm branch. And from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, he then drive down to he visited the University of the West Indies. After visiting the University of the West Indies, he then drive down to a piece of land on the Beetham, where you find that most of the disenfranchised people used to live. However, His Majesty went there and told the sod for an Ethiopian Orthodox church to be built. And then from there, His Majesty went and met the different governors and the prime ministers and all these different people where he was taken, and he was taken to the children rally, but he was taken to the streets, the town hall to receive the keys, then the children rally at Queen's Park, Savannah, and then he retired to the government house where he had a taste crabs and all the different Trinidadian cuisine,
Yeah.
Trinidadian cuisine.
It wasn't item. This is controversy for someone. He was eating. Do we know the menu that His Majesty ate, or that was just served?
No, that was just the menu. That was the menu that was served.
Okay.
That was the menu that was at the gala. But there are many different dishes. So you can choose, That was just they put.
I just want to be clear. And then you said something very crucial. I don't want to skip over that the Brethren Barra gave His Majesty a palm leaf.
Yeah, palm branch. Yeah,
let's talk about the significance of the gifting of a palm branch for those who are not familiar.
Yeah, Churaya Buzz Butler extended a palm branch to His Majesty. Well, the total significance of that, in my view, it was a brotherhood, a sign of brotherhood, a sign of peace, a sign of love. But for me, it is more within, the essence of the essence of the brotherhood.
Because why I say that is because what the first thing I thought of was when Yeshua in the New Testament descending into Jerusalem and they're waving the palm branches, you know?
Well, remember from the 18th, from scripture time, when you look at the 18th to the month of April going down, you would still find, I believe, I don't know if I'm quite correct, the month of the Passover.
Yes.
You know, so great and scientific men do scientific things.
Okay. So because I didn't even think of it in that light. So the Passover is really, you know, for those who are not familiar, you know, the Passover is when the creator of Israel go over and tell the people to mark their premises so that the plagues will not befall on them. So this is now maybe a heretical Passover because His Majesty coming to bless the people of the Caribbean, who, in my humble opinion, have a critical role to play in the unity of Africa and the culture of unity, overcoming the biggest impediment that we have as a people, which is tribalism, you know, because I really see Rastafari as that gumminess that's going to stick the continent together, you know, the culture of Rastafari, which is widely respected on the continent by all different faiths, you know, the youths them gravitate to I and I. So I really cite that is part of our role in returning home, is to really, you know, minimize or mitigate the damage that tribalism, that terrible disease, you know, when exercised out of balance, you know, which leads to divide and rule. But I don't want to get too off the track. Let us return to the visit. So you said that there was a children rally. Was that part of that rally?
There were two children rally. There were one in North Trinidad where His Majesty came first, and there was also one in South Trinidad where His Majesty was treated to, you know, African drumming, Yoruba drumming, and all different drumming, you know. Yeah. So there were two rallies in the two main borough of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
You know?
So continue with the itinerary, because very interesting.
Continue with it?
Yes, the itinerary. His Majesty's itinerary there. Was it finished?
No.
Dinner. We got to the dinner.
Yeah, we got to the dinner. They say His Majesty arrived at Queen's Park for the children's rally, leave Queen's Park Oval for the Governor General House at Tagarigra Road, arrives at Governor General House private dinner reception. The Emperor joins guests, the Emperor withdraws, you know. So, you know, within the 3 days, you know, as I said, the first place the Emperor went when he arrived was to the Arima Bandstand and to the European Orthodox Church, the university, they beat him. And from there, within those 3 days, the Emperor visited a lot of other places, you know, like the Senator Park, you know, where the ex-fallen soldiers was there. With the fallen soldiers, when His Majesty went to deliver the gift, His Majesty delivered a spear, two spears and shield to the then brigadier of the regiment, or the Senator Park for the fallen soldiers. And it was amazing to all military guards to see a guy at that age could have stand attention as His Majesty. He was totally admired for the way he took the salute. However, His Majesty explained to the brigadier that the gift that he gave him of the two spears and shield, that his people, his forefathers in Ethiopia, used those spears and shield to protect their independence, to preserve their independence. Today, those weapons are no longer used, but you know, it is the weapons that free keep his forefathers and parents free.
Give
It's in the
thanks.
living.
Give thanks.
It is also known too that when His Majesty came to Trinidad, he bought a gift for the then Dr. Eric Williams, which was 2 lions.
Okay.
2 lions were given to Dr. Eric Williams. Those lions were given to the zoo because Eric Williams is not as His Majesty to tame the lions or control the lions, had their power over it.
Have lions around the gates. Like
Yeah.
His Majesty have the lions around the palace.
Yeah.
What a joy. So in terms
But
of
then to see, a lot of people does misunderstood the symbolism of the lion, which represent truth and right, righteousness, in terms of its whole symbolism. Because when you look at Hamasir, Ramad, the Egyptian brothers, and all these people coming down, use the whole symbol of the lion. So the lion plays a very significant part in terms of its righteousness, in terms of its liberty.
Yes, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. So in terms of Dr. Eric Williams, are there any recorded conversations between His Majesty and Dr. Eric Williams? Do we know what those conversations were like?
No. The only recorded conversation I have is his address to Parliament.
Okay.
I have that in the papers here, where His Majesty addressed Parliament and told the Parliament that the Parliament must be a Parliament in order to tolerate criticism. They must be able to. His Majesty said to them that Parliament must be a system of government, must adopt to survive and tolerate criticism. Here you go on, you give me the whole speech about His Majesty. His Majesty even speak about uniformity. He said the system of government which have sought to impose uniformity of belief have survived briefly and then expired, blinded and weakened by excessive reliance upon the supposed infallibility. Then he warned, the only system of government which can survive is one which is prepared to tolerate dissent, criticism, and which accept this as useful and in any case, inevitable aspects of all social and political relations. Government servants, whether designated or representative or not, have the trust to work for the general welfare.
Serious sounds.
Common goals. This is where you finish. Common goals. The members of such organization must adhere to some passive or express conception of international welfare. In the case of the Organization of African Unity, it is the national welfare. In the case of the United Nations Organization, it is the world welfare. In one way or another, the member nations must accept thought in spirit and action, the basic preamble of their institution.
Serious. This is why the teachings of His Majesty are so relevant to I and I in this time, because we're, as a family, we're trying to govern ourselves, we're trying to come together, and you see what he's saying. Dissent, we're not gonna agree all of the time. I am Bongo Grease, may not agree on fundamental issues, but we cannot make that separate us or, create a hatred, or take things too personal. It's very crucial right now, these messages. And I think we have to look very carefully at the messages in particular that he left in the Caribbean, because it's really to I and I to get our act together, because we see how petty differences have really slowed the progress over the years, and disagreements. We had a whole civil war in the Nyabinghi between Jah and Haile Selassie first, where it was just war every eyes. Someone said, Jah, man, a burn it out. Haile Selassie first, and they don't want to hear nothing else. We went through that. There was a next war with the flag, the red on top. You know what I mean? We go through all of these things that at the end of the day, we don't have a health center. We don't have a world-class primary school. We don't have, a factory making clothing and Rastafari belts. And, so these are things that we really have to get in order. How do I see?
Before I forget Kwasi too, you see, these ills creep in because within the early conception of Rastafari, once used to more look at the flag as the rainbow. The rainbow, the colors of the rainbow was everything. Yeah. The first citation of Rastafari flags and everything was the rainbow.
Rainbow circle throne, yes.
The rainbow circle throne. However, there was a different interpretation after 1966 with the airplane pack up at the airport with ice gold and with the colors of the Ethiopian airline. Okay. So the colors of the Ethiopian airline and the Ethiopian flags at that point in time, within the visit, form a whole new dimension and a different talk again in pertaining to, the flag. So the ancient of these now had, a modernized flag. Just as His Majesty in 1931 as leader had to come up with a constitution for his country, and then another constitution, So the whole aspect about that liberty in terms of that flag, we have gone through from stages to stages, because it's a movement.
A movement. We're moving into nationhood. A lot of the ones them, I reason with them, they say we're a nation. And I push forward against that and say we're not a nation yet because we cannot sustain ourselves. There are certain responsibilities every nation has to its citizens, and we don't reach that stage. And I'm on humble opinion, we're still a movement moving in that direction. But I think that our nationhood is that united Africa. I don't really cite I and I going to Africa to set up no separate society. I think is the oneness, and I being that gumminess, that glue to bring all of the nations together again to see the foundation, which is His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, the highest of himself, shall establish I and I. In Addis Ababa 1963, that foundation was laid. But again, I really don't want to get sidetracked from the Trinidad trad, because we don't talk about it enough as a family. I was born in Jamaica. Every year we celebrate the visit to Jamaica, but more recently we're looking at, as you say, Trinidad, Barbados.
Let us deal with the visit, right?
Yes.
A gift for I can't see too well because it's nighttime. A gift for a school in Ethiopia. During the visit of Haile Selassie into Trinidad, remember the representatives from British Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Barbados, everybody had assembled in Trinidad on the first day of His Majesty's visit in order to make arrangements for the visit to their country.
Okay.
So by the second day, most of the dignitaries that were here and had already met His Majesty left to go to make the necessary arrangement. However, the acting Prime Minister of Jamaica was in Trinidad making certain arrangements. I read, gift of a school for Ethiopia. Gift of a school from Ethiopia. Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia has offered a contribution to the Jamaican government for education purposes. The acting Prime Minister, Mr. Donald Sangster, announced yesterday. The gift would be used to build a junior high school. Mr. Sangster did not disclose the size of the gift.
Okay.
Right? He said it would mark the Emperor's visit there, which starts tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Emperor's visit to Jamaica is generating great excitement there among the cult known as the Rastafari movement, who regard him as a divine champion of the black race. The Rastafarians will turn out in their thousands, crowding the airport for the Emperor arrival and thronging the route to Kingston. That's from Trinidad News.
Okay.
So Mr. Donald Sangster collected a gift in Trinidad from His Majesty for the junior high school in Jamaica. However, I don't believe that the Jamaican public even know the size of the gift or what was given to them.
That's what I listened very carefully.
Of the school.
Yeah, so we don't know what that gift size was because the oral history is that Jamaica government was scrambling to do something by the time His Majesty reached the country. So we don't know what that fullness is. The school still needs strength, as you said that. So we definitely want to shout out Haile Selassie High School. And I noticed you had mentioned before that His Majesty left money in Trinidad to build a church.
No, he turned the sod. He turned the sod for the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Okay.
Because remember the church already had all the abunas and them coming from Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church was already full here, so they would have their contributions coming. What His Majesty did was turn the sod for the church to be built on that particular spot.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? When you say turn the sod, what does that mean?
Well, where a building is going to put up, wherever the spot is, he would actually come with the shovel and dig the first.
Okay.
First grade or the first grade.
Here, but they didn't have a structure.
Yeah, no structure. And that particular area was one of the most impoverished communities within Port of Spain or within the city.
Okay. Is that structure still up to date?
Yes, it is up to date. There's an Ethiopian Orthodox Church there.
Give thanks to know that. So that's very interesting that His Majesty invested in the church in Trinidad and a school in Jamaica. What is the message?
Yeah, well, remember again, as I told you, this is His Majesty. When His Majesty came here, the Trinidadians were serious Pan-Africanisms, because an activist. Because on His Majesty visit here, you had brothers like CLR James, who was controlling His Majesty main office in Ethiopia, seeing about all the different works, after the Mussolini invasion. So these brothers were very close to His Majesty. Then you have Sylvester Williams out there in the first Pan-African conference. Then you had George Padmore. So these brothers had a link with His Majesty in terms of doing that African consciousness work. As I indicated earlier on, one of the main purpose of the visit was to strengthen the organization of African unity.
So is there any where we can find information on His Majesty? Because you call some heavyweight names there, Is there any way that we can, or do you know any literature that talks about CLR James work with His Majesty, George Padmore, any links? Where can we find that information? Because I'm fascinated.
Yes, I can I can probably furnish you with all those information in about 7 days time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Bongo Grease family. Bongo Grease don't play around. So give thanks. Bongo Grease is going to share that information, and I'll do some future episodes, because I always say, because a lot of people like to claim His Majesty was a bandwagonist to the Pan-African movement. He just jumped on in 1963 with the formation of the OAU, and I always have to tell them about his support for the UNIA in the 1920s as Rastafari, even giving financial contribution to the UNIA, his work with the Ford family, inviting, Black Americans and Pan-Africanists to come to Ethiopia to build with competitive salary packages for their families, all of these things that we don't really hear about His Majesty. So I love to know that he was linking with George Padmore and CLR James and these ones from an early time, because that work, and we just found out as well from Dr. Russ Wayne Rose, a brethren here just did a dissertation on His Majesty's connection with W.E. Du Bois, Yeah, Du Bois. So, there's so much that we as Rastafari, even family, we just scratch the surface of the works with His Majesty for Africa.
The thing about Du Bois, Du Bois was very close to Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
Du Bois was very close to Marcus Garvey. And there were some, according to historical reasonings, there was some sort of bridge. There was some sort of bridge there between Du Bois and Garvey.
Yes, they had some animosity, some back and forth. That's also been documented. But at the end, the boys said that Garvey was right, and he ended up moving to Ghana, where he spent his latter days, and he actually died in Ghana and is buried in Ghana. When you go to Ghana, you can see his mausoleum is there. So there's a lot of research we still have to do on His Majesty and the Pan-African side of His Majesty, and the support and funding that he was giving to a lot of these, these giants in the Pan-African movement, and their connection with Ethiopia, and how Addis was a hub. Mm-hmm.
I can supply you with those information in 7 days. Just send and tell me what you need, and I will give you it in 7 days.
You see, you hear that, family? So I'm going to report to the family about all of these things that Bongo Grease share with I, because I'm going to share it with the family. Same way. So
another highlight of the visit of His Majesty is that within the interreligious leaders, the Muslim paid a very, the Muslim came out in large numbers, the imams, and paid special tribute to His Majesty visit in 1966.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. And that was great.
So that was the Islamic side of Trinidad, because Trinidad has a big Muslim community.
Yeah, they did came out, the imams did came out and to the interreligious service and paid their full respect and tribute to His Majesty.
And we always have to remember that it was a king from the line of Solomon that Prophet Muhammad sent his early followers to, that helped to preserve Islam in the early days, and the relationship that the Prophet has with Ethiopia, telling his followers they must never make war on Ethiopia because of the kindness of that king. That is so powerful. So I want to pivot from there now to, I had Empress Sharon on this program, and she was giving us some of her journey into Rastafari, and she said when she landed forward in Trinidad, His Majesty led her to two elders, Bongo Grease and Bongo Jack, and she said the I.M really guided her and really gave her a solid education. Talk about the rising after the visit of His Majesty, the rising of the Rastafari movement, because now we want to talk about the impact that that visit had.
See, while we speak about the impact, right? There has been a very great impact. But one of the overview that we must always keep in mind is that what is important about the whole visit of His Majesty that we got to continue looking at is the utterances of His Majesty. We take cognizance of everything, but the utterances of His Majesty play a very important part. Because even while His Majesty was at his coronation and receiving certain psalms, those psalms were to guard him for the trials and tribulation that he would encounter many years after his coronation. So the utterances of His Majesty is a living testament for and I, even as an impact from that time on to this time as an overview. So, you know, the emergence, again, as I told you, the emergence of the Rastafari movement, because I say during the visit of His Majesty, there were more Pan-Africanism rather than an established Rastafari foundation, but they're more Rastafari because Trinidadians at that point in time were very brilliant. You're talking about brilliant scholars, brilliant scholars, you know, strong Pan-Africanism. However, within the emergence of Rastafari 10 years after 74, within 74, 75, 76, with the guerrillas, you know, the guerrillas who fought for Black Power coming into Rastafari, the cannabis legacy coming and actually uniting all races, Indians and Africans together on the block, you know, preaching Rastafari, talking Rastafari, living Rastafari. Ones and ones start to adopt a ita liberty, because to become a Rastafari as a youth, the first thing you do is stop eating your mother pot food, you know, and plant a garden. So all young Rastafari, your first, while you're nutting up, your garden is the first thing you're going to move out from home and set up your garden. And so as we as youths coming up at that time, in South Trinidad, there was an emergence of the National Union of Freedom Fighters who were more revolutionary. Because in the Rastafari business, you have asceticism, you know, those who are peaceful, you have those who move out of Babylon, and you have those who remain to blow out Babylon, you know, within the community. So you had the early Rastas who took it seriously and went in bag. Some didn't want to wear in bag because they said they couldn't wear that caucus bag to scratch the skin. So, but it had the bag Rastas community. There was a Rastafari community in South Trinidad where the Rastas burn, you know, they burn everything. But at that time, they burn all the money, they burn all the houses, they burn everything because of the police brutality. Too much of police brutality, because when police couldn't get at the guerrillas, they decided to get at the ganja culture, because ganja was bringing revenue. It was bringing a very powerful revenue to support the community in terms of food, clothing, shelter, and whatever, was through cannabis. And that was the way that the Commissioner of Police, Randall Burrows, was able to hunt the Rastas and, you know, hunt the Rastas and put them in prison every Monday morning. So the Bag Rastas decided not going through that. They burn all the houses, burn all the money, do everything and remain in bag. You know? So this was a sort of revelation. However, the nicest among the Rastafari communities you see is that within the emergence of Rastafari in Trinidad is that when you pass through Pfizer Good, you could actually see 400 or 500 brothers on the block sit down, just reasoning, you know, smoking and reasoning, full consciousness. That was a niceness. And I think from there, it sparked the younger ones who go into the colleges. Everybody wanted to get into Rastafari, and this common climax. And during that time too, now the perception was a bit kind of easing up, you know. So there was a sort of social change where the Rastas could actually come now and get into the whole thing of Nyabinghi, get into the order, gather within the commune to keep Nyabinghi. So the early Nyabinghi wasn't like these Nyabinghi tabernacles, it was the Melchizedek circle where everybody would gather with the fire in the center, all ital come, and everybody would give, you know, praises unto Jah Rastafari. which at that point in time, I found to be very powerful as a youth. Because when you're in the circle there and your time comes to say something, if you can't say nothing, it's like, it's terrible, because it's a circle, everybody, the coachy coming around and everybody saying something. So when your moment reach, if you can't say nothing, then the Irish and the Most High will make you open your mouth and go, "Cha, Rastafari." And the time it make the circle, because the time it make the circle, some little psalm, if it's a piece of psalm, something will come in your mouth, So in order to be in the circle was a real spellbinding, was a spellbinding experience to be within the Nyabinghi circle. And so once, started to take it seriously, go home, learn the psalms, learn the biblical things, so that when you come Bingi, at least instead of watching Bingi from on top of the hill, you could come down in the circle.
Yes, and block some sound. So, how did the Nyabinghi reach Trinidad? Do you have that history?
Yeah, through Ras Bonagees.
Ras Bonagees, yes.
Yeah, Ras Bonagees.
Mighty
I set up the first tabernacle by a brethren house in Diego Martin. And from there, he came and meet the Rastafari brethren in South. But when he came, the brethren the brethren in Deep South was already practicing Nyabinghi. As I say, it was the ceremonial of the circle of the measures in the corner. Bones, yes, bones bring a fullness. It come like Moses. It didn't come to change the law, but bring a new perspective. And this is what bones come and bring the more up-to-date in terms of translation and order, the order of the faith in that way. But I would not say that the first set of Rastas was born in Babylon. I would not say that there was no order. There has always been order within the Rastafari faith. But just Ras Bonagees came and set the order to, a higher standard on Nyabinghi.
So how old was the I when the I first trotted to the Nyabinghi house, and why the Nyabinghi house? Why not Bobo Shanti? I know they have a strong Bobo community there. They have a strong 12 tribe there. Why Nyabinghi, and how old was the I when the I first started chat?
Yeah, I went into the Nyabinghi about 15, 16. Because of the fact that as a youth coming, you always have respect for the bag rastas, the more rutical rastas, the rastas who plant in garden. Those rastas who, when you see them from a distance, it's like you're seeing 3 lions coming in one. No ism and schism, And then these brethren were biblically versed in terms of translation and all these things. So, as a youth coming up and watching these rastas, man always shows that rutical part of Nyabinghi rather than any of the other Rastafari mansion. It's not that man had anything against the other Rastafari mansion, because from young man very brilliant to know that there was no single authority within the Rastafari movement. Haile Selassie I is the head of the Nyabinghi or the Prophet God, and then you have the youth Blackface bringing out the Panafrican, bringing out Bones and all these different people. But again, as I say, as a young person coming up in Rastafari, I had been inspired by the Nyabinghi brethren, death to black and white oppressors as a more revolutionary arm of Rastafari, for what they stand, for the philosophy that they stand for.
I always say Nyabinghi is a spiritual special forces, heretical, because I deal with the lightning and the yonder, the elements, which may be peculiar to a lot of ones. That connection, because a lot of ones, look at things from a different perspective. But we give thanks that the I has been such a pillar, teaching so many ones. Did the I get to meet Bongo Grease in person?
Yes, I did. And myself and Bongo Jack did. Bongo Jack went to we used to operate in Faizabad, in Faizogood, into the Nyabinghi. We had a lot of Bingi there. So we used to go with Bones, So from there we trained up how to learn to administrate and all these things. And then after that, the graduates went down, like Bongo Jack and I went down to a conference out in Barton, in Barbados, with Bones.
Yes.
So the teachings from Ras Bongo Grease had always been there in terms of the biblical, translation and all these things. However, as a youth Bingi, I have always been guided by, a particular principle as an Nyabinghi youth. And one of my principles as an Nyabinghi youth, keeping my own Bingi and training under a brother called Kaitaka. Kaitaka, after Bones come and set up, as I tell you at one time, Rastas did control the economy in the country through cannabis. So the biggest Bingi used to keep in Separia. Regions from all over with the yard on the 23rd or the 2nd of November, where you will see Rastas from a big way. And those who not supposed to be, they couldn't be there because those who tried to come down to the Bingi, people used to fall and beat up like foul. They couldn't come down in the Bingi, real beat up. You had to go and pick them up and all kind of thing. Because there's real serious brothers coming from all over the country and coming down there. And one of the things that I learned about Nyabinghi is that the true principles, or the true tenets of the Nyabinghi order is that by the bushes my children shall take and eat of, by the bushes my children shall take and cure their sicknesses, and by the bushes my children shall know how they are coming and how they are going. Because if you lost in the bush, you have a way you could pivot yourself to turn to know exactly your direction where you're going. And that is the positive liberty of Nyabinghi.
Yeah, man. And I give thanks for elders like yourself for upholding it, because without pillars like the I, you wouldn't have ones like Empress Sharon who could give the testimony that, she came on the I and Bongo Jack really were able to guide her. Talk to us about the connection that I have with Bongo Jack, because it seemed like the I them are two of the columns, that hold up the Nyabinghi house in Trinidad. How did the I them meet?
Yeah, well, Bongo Jack is a very powerful soldier, very, very powerful. He studied Ras Bongo Grease carefully, so he very good biblically, and he could unfold, he could administer Bingi very, very well. Very serious brother, hard farmer. But together, we've been trotting, we like ring and finger for years. So like, if we attend a conference in Jamaica, I would allow, or wherever part of the world, I would allow him to do the administrative portion of the Bingi, while I will do the historical part of it. If he's speaking too much or he's out of line, then I know when to watch him so that he would pause immediately. We developed that sort of...
Yes.
Yeah, we developed
balance, iron sharpen iron.
As Bingi men.
Yeah.
If we go somewhere and I forget a chant, he will raise the chant and I have the voice to bring it.
Okay.
So there's a real perfect balance between me and the brethren. And as Rastafari, from a younger time, I had always been the reader. The books that I have read, I don't think normal persons would have ventured into those fields. Okay. People used to read books a long time. However, I introduced my brethren Bongo Jack into the world of books and study. And he had the time. And the brethren really make the use of it. Today he's a very good herbalist. and he's a very powerful Nyabinghi brethren, you know. And you know,
we're definitely gonna invite him to give his story here on Lion Talk, because again, we don't want to hear about this from anthropologists come and research and these things. We give thanks for those things still, but we want to hear directly from the lions and the lionesses about this story.
I can introduce Bongo Jack to you. He would love that. He will do a marvelous show.
Yeah, man, definitely. And I want to find out from the eye in terms of, from the Nyabinghi, Trinidad now has an all-mansion organization that has come together. And you know, I work with the Jamaican All-Mansion Initiative, the RMO, but Trinidad had already established an all-mansion framework. So how did that come about, and what is the mission of the all-mansion?
Well, the all-mansions and Rastafari started from a very early time with His Majesty grandson visit to Trinidad, you know, where the first set of brethren, you know, 12 tribes assisted the first set of brethren to go on a fact-finding mission in 2006 to, you know, Ghana, Ethiopia, and I think some other country. They went out there to do the fact-finding mission. So that was the emergence of the all-mansion. However, there was the organization was reconstituted in about by 2009. By 2009, I was involved in the Nyabinghi house and was going through some terrible fight and decided, okay, I never said. I head straight to the all-mansion. And from there, I went there, became the corporate secretary. And with myself and my brethren, Bongo Jack, I started to push the all-mansion, the Rastafari heat, joined with 12 tribes, the Bobo Shanti, African Unity, and so the initiatives, you know, and the Nyabinghi house. The very said Nyabinghi house. And so there were strong initiatives for the legalization of cannabis and other matters that, you know, other issues that affect the Rastafari community that we were able to deal with, you know, forcefully. So we did, however, register the All Mansions of Rastafari as a non-governmental organization in 2010.
Okay.
In 2010. And from there, the organization, you know, started to invite brothers like, you know, Marcus Goff, all these brothers, and then passed through the All Mansion. The brother from out Jamaica, Dr. Marshall Emmanuel, all these brothers were invited as speakers. Bongo IFE, plus we had Frank I from out in Antigua. So we had a lot of brethren and work within, you know, we had a brethren from outside, Brother Lansu in Rhine. We had a lot of powerful ones that come in. You see, before these mansions and them took precedence within the whole Rastafari scheme, it must be noted that the early Rasta that formed in Trinidad had formed an organization called Trinidad Rasta Brother Organization. Trinidad Rasta Brothers Organization, something like TBO or something like that. There was an organization formed by the Rastas. There wasn't to the like Nyabinghi or 12 tribe, but there wasn't. And then after that, there was another organization formed called TTRU, Trinidad and Tobago Rastafari United Rastafari Association. That was formed. Those brothers were doing a very positive work. They came out from the Bag Rastas, where they were planning to set up their own agricultural system, like planting pumpkin by the acres and selling. They plant their own ganja. They used to bring like Cuban doctors. They used to bring in Cuban doctors to check all the ancients, to make sure the eyesight good, the heart, and all these different things. So these brothers used to do a lot of works, a lot of positive works within the community. You know, the system that just crashed because I think was because of some slight misunderstanding over funds.
Oh.
But the bridges, the early Rastas have done a lot of work, and apart from the normal 4 mansions in terms of Rastafari in Trinidad and Tobago.
What year was that? What year was that when you talk about the Rastafari United organ? What year was that?
It was like probably 72, 73, 74.
Okay, so early. And then the All Mansion, you say, started what year? The first year?
The old mansion was like even before 2006, like 2004.
2004, and then it came forward again.
Then it reconstituted like in 2009 and registered as a non-governmental organization in 2010.
Okay. And I play a role. What was the I position in that organ?
The corporate secretary of the All Mansions and Rastafari.
Okay, give thanks. And what is the position of the All Mansion on repatriation? Let's bring it forward to Revelation 18 now.
Well, as all the members of remember, Nyahbinghi Bobo 12 tribe, although there are different authorities over the different mansions, one of the central pillars of the Rastafari nation is repatriation, reparations and repatriation. The divinity, put it correct, the divinity of Haile Selassie I and repatriation. That is the common understanding among us all. However, I am fortunate to be appointed by the government of Trinidad and Tobago on the Reparation Committee for the last 10 years or so. Yeah, I'm on the Reparation Committee. So reparation and repatriation form a very central and an important part in the whole system of Rastafari tenets. One of the things that must be highlighted in terms of repatriation and reparation is that even in the early Rastafari system, as we speak on repatriation and reparation, remember, within the early Rastafari system, Rasta 10 was to move away from politics. Rasta not deal with no politics.
Yes, none alive.
Right. Then you have Garvey's involvement in election is what? Right? You have Garvey's election is what? Then you have Sam Brown's speech is what?
Yes.
So you had then you had in I think in 1974 about the going and look at the Caribbean Rastas, where the Rastas from the Caribbean joined with the Liberation Army in Grenada to fight for the revolution. You look at the brothers in St. Vincent joined with the opposition to fight against police oppression. So technically today, there are Rastas who move with the aesthetic life, there are those who move, but there are those who also were involved in the political struggle. And those who were involved in the political struggle, they was less involved with repatriation and more was interested and focused on the fight at present to their community. Let us be real.
Yes. So repatriation was not a major focus.
No, at them, for that point in time, the focus was more on the fighting the oppression and the struggle and welfare and at their community, at their people at that point in time. But we are aware and we know that repatriation and reparation is one of the two most essential components of the Rastafari movement. Because when you look at the Baptist faith and you look at all these other faiths, they were persecuted by an ordinance of law, whereas the Rastafari movement had been persecuted by the state. And as such, when we want to burn imperialism and colonialism and all these things, some sort of recognition and reparatory justice has to begin from home with these Caribbean prime ministers in terms of addressing the Rastafari, the brutality that are Bongo over this and harassment that the Rastas go through all these years. Some sort of reparatory justice should be given to them, as well as aligning their Black Star liner in order for those that want to repatriate to home, because that is one of their fundamental rights to return, the right of return.
Will Trinidad free up some of the oil money? That is what we want to know. Can we get some of the oil money?
Well, again, it's a pity that the Reparation Committee in Trinidad and Tobago is now, as normal, government is now setting up a particular fund for the advocacy and works of the Reparation Committee. However, in terms of repatriation money, they shift that is why they shift it to government initiative. So it is now incumbent upon the Rastafari community to address such community by advocating for embassy, an Ethiopian embassy in Trinidad and Tobago. Other areas are communication and all these different things. So there are a number of areas that has to be highlighted by the population of the Rastafari community as to what they would like to see in terms of their package for reparatory justice. Because too many times, everything is there, but there has to be a unity. There cannot be a pulling and a tugging and everybody seeing for themselves. Because for too long, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the indigenous people who is getting a lot of assistance from the government. A lot, quite a lot. They are fighting for their, not just reparation, but for their sovereignty of their land here. So they're getting a lot of things. However, in terms of the Rastafari movement, again, as I said, there's still some, there's still some pulling and tugging, which, really and truly, when we speak about a Rastafari nation, what is a nation? Question number one, could a nation exist, or could a nation exist in a state, or could there be a nation in a state? Then what is a nation? A nation is a group of people who speak with one voice, linguistically, ethnically, and what's the other one? There are three factors. Ethnically, people who speak with one voice, and culturally.
Yes.
That makes us a nation. And if we are not going down that road, well, then come on.
As I said, I'm going to push forward. I think we're on our way to nationhood. But I'm a big, advocate of institution building. So I applaud the Al-Manchan framework. And I think we need to build these institutions, which are the framework of nationhood, because Vice said a government without money is like a body without a soul. And right now, a lot of our communities, we have to fundraise to even bury our elders. We don't have provision, for these things. So, I'm going to be a rebel, Bongo Grease. I tell the brethren them, say I'm going to be a rebel on this issue because I want us to do better. And I think that we become very complacent as a global family in terms of moving. I'm watching what's happening in the Middle East, Bongo Grease. The prophecy, when Jerusalem is surrounded by armies, know that the time is nigh. I'm watching the chessboard being laid out, and I'm looking at our family, and I'm saying, if these global shipping lanes shut down tomorrow, are we as a Rastafari nation, our family, prepared? Can we hold out for too strong for a month? Just on our own, or are we going to be lining up at the grocery store and these things? And I look at Mark of the Beast, because when I was in COVID here in Washington, D.C., we had to line up outside of the grocery store, 6 feet apart, you know, and, you know, give thanks that they were not checking ID to get into the grocery store. But I know some places you have to show your card to even enter, you know. Some places we didn't have that here in DC. We give thanks. But so I'm looking at these things, Bongo Grease, and I'm hearing a lot of nice talk about the Rastafari nation. But I have to push forward because again, I want us to do better as a global. I think we're on the right direction. I think we're moving, but I think we need to move with a little bit more diligence. How do I see it?
Yeah, well, again, before I forgot, one of the things that inspired me quite a lot and made me stronger as a Rasta man was in 2008 when I visited Jamaica. I was actually, I shouldn't say baptized, but I was actually offered up by Ma Shanti.
Okay, give thanks.
Ma
Yes.
Shanti took me in personally. She did really love I. You know,
Yes.
I was a favorite between the elders. I was like the blue one, you know. But Ma Shanti took I personally. And I remember this day she called I, went inside and picked up her scepter and came outside and put me to sit down. And just started pray over me. Pray. She gave me the full Rastafari. I get the full Rastafari blessing from Ma
Asian
Shanti.
mama, and that is a Asian mama.
Full blessing from Ma Shanti.
Legendary.
When she finished bless me up, she started giving me all the different rules about the church, about funerals, about she started teach me. And even today, do I have met, you know, funny to say, do I have met a lot of brethren over my years in Rastafari, over 50 something years. The greatest prayer master I ever met is Ma Shanti. The greatest, you know, yeah. I never really.
Ma Shanti survived gunshot, hit by bus, all kind of mystic. And I'm very sad I didn't have this channel when she was with us because is an elder where I really love. As the I say, she always attentive and make sure she come and reason with you and give you some personal sound to strengthen you upon the chart, you know. And that's one of the reasons that I really am so passionate about this platform because we want to get as much testimony as we can because we've lost so many that the youth them. I look at my youth, I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. And my daughter was baptized, had her sanctification at Scott Pass. And a lot of those elders that were there are no longer with us, you know. So it really show I and I that we have to be diligent. We can't take for granted that what will be here forever.
And another thing to Kwasi.
Yeah.
While I was in Jamaica, I took 3 pairs of sapat, ice gold and green sapat for the elders, Bongo Tony, because I was very close. I was probably the last person that Bongo's Tony spoke to before he passed.
Oh wow!
I used to actually see about the elders down there. And on Bongo Tony, he called me and he told me that he getting a pain in his chest, you know. In sure because that the seller will change him and they tell me Bongo don't send it MoneyGram no more. Send it Western Union. I'm feeling good. You know, his wife was sick also, you know. She had cancer today. She's quite well, I'm happy. You know, but I remember I bought a couple pairs of sapat, ice gold and green sapat. And one day I was going down to the river to bathe, you know, and I had on my sapat. And when I coming up from the river, Bongo Tony looked at me. He said, Bongo Grease. Because they didn't like me. He said, Bongo Grease, say what happened? When he reached by the tabernacle, I wanted to take off that shoes you have done straight away from me, please. Don't let me see you with that shoes again anymore. You ever see? But all the time I done bring two, 3 pairs and I've been waiting to get them. He said, don't wear that again, throw that away. So I come abroad. I said, but I'm Bongo Tony. I wear my thing in Trinidad. Why it is you don't want me to wear that here? He said, Bongo Grease. I said, when you reach by the tabernacle, put that in and throw that away. He said, I want you to learn the banner is to hoist, the banner is not to mash. You are mashing the banner.
Okay.
The banner is not from your foot.
Yeah, man. The elders have had some serious reasoning, you know, and tradition.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to cherish. We have to cherish
Yeah.
that. Talk to us. Talk to us about what the I vision is for Rastafari movements in Trinidad. Where would the I like to see things evolve in Trinidad with the Rastafari family?
I would like to see within the Rastafari family, I would like to see you know, a resurgence of the 1980s, 80, 85 of Rastafari, when the Rastafari community did control the whole of Trinidad and Tobago in terms of economic sustenance. Because in one time was Rasta who was keeping the biggest reggae shows was Rastafari in Trinidad. Rastafari speaks Montul Alibaba and Shango Bako. You know, those times those fellas did control Trotman Street, real big Rastas really large. Then the market, all the biggest set of stalls in the market were Rastafari. Then the Drag Brothers Mall, some of the best sandals. I don't know about the other Caribbean, but I know in terms of leather work, some of the best sandals that I have seen and bag work is from the Rastas in Trinidad. You know, some of the best woodwork in terms of furniture I have seen is in Jamaica, in woodwork,
Yes.
but in leatherwork in Trinidad. And the Rastas did control that whole economy. Anywhere you go, it's pies, is this, is that, is that. And for some reason or the other, you know, prior to the 90s, when cocaine came in, it came in and it caused a terrible problem, a terrible shift. And so that kind of way, you know, it bring a whole kind of like Babylon system divide and rule. It mash up the whole system of trust. A trust within, you know, ones and ones, you know. And this is something that I would like to see again today where, you know, man have much better understanding where those days have been past and gone. You know what I mean? That ones could emerge again today in terms of food security and bring a better, you know, sustenance because Babylon system, every day there's layoffs and all these things will never get good. So it is the Rastafari community they say that you are what you eat. So it is the Rastafari community again through the All Mansion, to all Rastafari, to come together in one body, to come together as a nation. And let's, you know, see, you know, about our welfare and well-being. As the Trinidadian brother by the name of Black Stallion say, you know, it's something that the Federation done gone, and it's something that the Rastafari nation doing, you know, that have the Rasta still functioning today, you know. So this is something that I would like to see, you know, being, you know, the head of the All Mansion, being so involved in All Mansion, the Rastafari work globally, that these kind of petty scrimmages and, you know, petty differences and, you know, too many times we think about self rather than thinking about, you know, the community. And when we look at it, all the other people and then the indigenous people and them, in order to get their rights and to get certain things done, they have to think as a people. Rastafari have to think as a community, not individual. Individual, we go no.
Do you see a lot of young Rastafari in the teens and the 20s trotting up into the liberty now? Because everywhere else we're not seeing young people embracing, because most of the elders, yourself included, put on their covenant in their teenage years. And we're not seeing it like one time. Are you seeing that in Trinidad? Is that present in Trinidad right now?
I keep raising that agenda all the time. I think this is where full respect is paid to the Bobo Shanties. Yeah, full respect is paid to the Bobo Shanty in that field. Because whereas you find most of the, most of the other Rastafari mansions, 12 tribe economics, 12 tribe will help everyone, but the Bobo Shanties are more or less the ones that adopt the family lifestyle, family. So anywhere you see the Bobos, you would always see their children. And sometimes at some of their gathering, you would see the children with their timbrels, their shakers, and out in front, really chanting the song. And this has been so kind of gladdening to my heart in the sense that, every tree shall be known by its fruits. And it's something that, normally within the other mansions, within Nyabinghi and all these other mansions, you more see elders, but you really hardly see the manifestation or the succession of these youths fully involved in terms of the, administration of the Nyabinghi in time to come. So, it is a major concern. It is a major concern that one has to look at very seriously.
I'm raising the trumpet on that, big up the Saint Croix, Nyabinghi House, Rastafari. They had a youth discussion as part of the ISIS where they invited some youth to come out. And, they told the youths, come as you are. They just wanted to hear from them, and it was very interesting. And these were youths, most of them were second generation.
Nice.
They were blocking, how they see things. And, we have to listen to them. And at the same time, as our elders who were there said, we cannot bend the faith to them either, because they too themselves need the structure. And we don't want to water down the faith to fit into what's going on right now. But we have to find a bridge to make it attractive, that they want to be a part and continue. And a lot of that, though, Bongo Grease, is really us not having the institutions and the economic base. Because if we could employ our youths to work, they would be with us, but most of the time we have to send them out to the wolves to find their bread. So, that is something that our generation have to work on. And I'm committed to that mission. And there are many ones who we're meeting through this platform, and just youths that are rising from H.I.M generation who are also committed. So I want to give the opportunity to just, any final sounds that I want to block. I want to give thanks for your time.
Well, again,
Very
this is the
special
time.
episode for I. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the time of the visit. This is the visitation time. Remember that the visit to Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, and I would like to end by reading this one. Selassie I hail colorful Haiti. 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 Haiti, the Black Republic, gave Emperor Haile Selassie I a truly welcome when he flew in here yesterday on a one-day visit to end his Caribbean tour. President Francois Duvalier, immaculate in a gray morning suit and black top hat, welcomed the royal visitor. We have the same ideals of freedom and independence. He declared, he declared, right, after recalling that Haiti and Ethiopia had been on friendly terms for many years. A colorful scene erected Emperor Haile Selassie I at Port-au-Prince. However, within my eyes, however, that visit was very, let me read out this part. However, a new Boulevard, a proud people, as there were some 5,000 other people on hand to welcome the Ethiopian emperor as he stepped from the plane. The emperor's visit to Haiti was brief, and he left for home later in the day on board his private jet, anything in. In his address of welcome, President Duvalier said the emperor should know how much Haitians were proud of their national dignity and how the government had been trying in recent years to raise the country from poverty. The emperor said in reply that he was very happy to be on Haitian soil for the first time. We already feel at home, he added. He too reacted friendly, realizing between his country and Haiti, in the past. Everywhere in the world where there were people of African descent, they had a sense of affinity and friendliness, he said. This could be a force for the maintenance of people in the world and international security.
He said something similar in Jamaica, that the relationship between Jamaica and Ethiopia would be critical for the maintenance of international peace and security. He said that in Haiti as well. Of course, we know the tradition of independence in Haiti. Haiti congratulated Menelik II and Empress Taitu upon their victory at Adowa, the only Black republic at the time that was independent. So it was very significant connection. I think they sent a representative to Emperor Menelik as well from Haiti. So as he said, it's a long-standing relationship. So overall, give us some takeaways.
Yeah. And I said, when you look at most of the speeches that His Majesty gave through his visit, we can actually see that one of his warnings was that Africa is in very serious problems. Africa is in very serious problem because, look at it, 4 years after the visit, 1941 was when he returned from 35 to 41. And when he came here, again, as a support for the Organization of African Unity, he warned that Africa is in serious problem. Hence the reason why he's seeking that the diasporian, support of the Pan-Africanists for the liberation of the African unity, So again, as I closing, we look at the overview of the visit. There are plenty that we can still say, we look at the overview, we look at everything, but I say that we must not forget the utterances of His Majesty. The utterances of His Majesty play a very, very, very important part in terms of the visit, because after the visit of His Majesty, those who continue reading the utterances of His Majesty have been to this day steadfast, steadfast in the philosophy and tenets of His Majesty. Because sometimes I even see Christians, Christians today, they speak so many Christ coming sweet by and by. But one of the real tenets of Christ that they never really understood was that sometimes the more you forget yourself is the more you will be remembered. So and this is Rastafari. With all the oppression, we maintain peace, love, and equality to all. It's just that one of the ticklish subjects in terms of a youth in growing up as Rastafari is that reggae music did really play a very important part.
Yes.
Visit of His Majesty, reggae music did play a very important part in one's nutting up as Rastaman, as Rastafari.
Yes.
Because as a youth coming up, when you hear Burning Spear, and these guys and them, you're tying your shoelace and for school, but it will delay tying your shoelace until you hear it, even Bali, because those were freedom songs, those were redemption songs.
Yes.
And those redemption songs bring you more into that drive, that enthusiasm, that self-consciousness of being nothing else more than a Rastafari.
Yeah, man, mighty. How can people get in contact with the Eye? Is there any products or services that the Eye have that the Eye want to share with the family that the Lion Pride and our audience can support? Just give us once the way that they can contact the Eye and stay in tune with the All Mansion works.
Yeah, well, again, Bongo Grease. My email is bongogrease@gmail.com. Telephone number 378-372-9074. And my works as Rastafari, again, as I say, is about the welfare and well-being of all my Rastafari brethren and sisters. Because I have learned as a youth that the elder ancient brethren, to be, when one calls himself an elder, elder is not basically seniority. An elder is one who actually sacrificed his years and dedicated himself to the liberty of a Rastafari organization. Hence it bring him to be an elder, And as such, the work that the elders and the ancients and them do at that point in time was not for fame, was not for gain, nor was it for glory, but was a heartical vibes in maintaining the philosophy of, the teachings and, divinity of His Majesty, so that even the unborn ones today could come. And during the time that even though there's ancient, they still does function in a way where they could part on to some sort of guidance onto the younger ones. Because, the future is in their hands. Yeah, the future is in their hands. At one time, I walk with 2 feet. At one time, I move with 3 feet, because the walking stick does make another.
Yes, I give thanks, Bongo Grease. This is part 1. We just scratched the surface. There's no way we can reason with an elder like the Eye and get the whole story in 2 hours, which we did 2 hours just now, that fast. So I just want to thank the Eye on behalf of the Lion Pride on Patreon, all of the supporters. Our growing audience is going to love this. This is April 18th. We are celebrating visit of Rastafari, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I first to Trinidad. Love to all of our Trinidad family. Like I said, we'll be doing a lot more content about the Trinidad Rastafari family. We'll be hearing a lot more from ones like Bongo Grease. We're going to get Bongo Jack on here. We have some surprise interviews scheduled from some Trinidad artists. We are going to be doing a lot of things to highlight and to bring together the global family. The separation time is over. The time for us to gather, to prepare for this great repatriation that is unfolding is now. And we want to be one of the independent media platforms that help to bring this narrative and to highlight this in real time as it unfolds in this Armageddon as we watch World War III take the planet. Why do we say this? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the lion's voice.
Lion voice. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them called him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them called him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie I fi end all tribal war. A time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Royal governor from the age of 13 years, leave the palace, fi go back in a school with him peers. He's the head without fear, he's one to be revered. When them call his name, then the heathen scare. Plus the priest concerned, and him teachers concerned. Cause all this little youth want fi do is just learn. But he wait his turn, till him turn the Dejazmatch. The people rejoice when they crown as the Rasta call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Then Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then Rastafari. Read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Well, Ras McConnell call a meeting with all him general them. Say him funeral a come and him have something fi tell them. Him say, we fight together since the days of Adawa. Him say, protect my son and help him unite Africa. Well, them generals, them start cry when them hear this sound. Them say your wishes are come and then bow down to the ground. When him funeral they come, it shock the whole town. Fi see this little youth, him have a army surround. They call him